Friday, 28 April 2017. This is Heritage World News. I am Bolawala Makinde. The Taliban has unleashed its annual so-called spring offensive in Afghanistan, saying it will mainly target US-led foreign occupation troops to force them to quit the country. In a formal announcement released on Friday, the Islamist insurgency claimed Operation Mansouri went into action early Friday morning across all 34 Afghan provinces. It explained that the offensive has been named after Taliban chief Mullah Akhtar Mansour, who was killed by an American drone last year. While there has been no let-up in insurgent attacks in Afghanistan over the past several years, the onset of springtime militants to ramp up their activities because melting snows on mountain peaks allows insurgents to launch major battlefield attacks. Friday's announcement came a week after the Taliban staged its deadliest raid on a major Afghan military base in the northern city of Mazar-e-Sharif. The assault reportedly killed more than 250 Afghan soldiers and wounded many others. The casualty toll was much more than the losses Afghan forces suffered in the battlefield in the past several weeks, prompting the defense minister and the military chief to step down. U.S. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis, during last week's trip to Kabul, warned that 2017 will be a tough fighting year for Afghan security forces. Analysts have warned that increasing contacts in recent months between Russia and the Taliban could complicate the US-led efforts to stabilize Afghanistan. The commander of US and foreign forces in the country, General John Nicholson, while speaking alongside Mattis, reiterated concerns over Russia's involvement in the Afghan conflict and expressed Washington's concern that Moscow is apparently sending weapons to the Taliban. The Taliban has extended its territorial control in Afghanistan since the withdrawal of international combat troops in 2014 and inflicted heavy casualties on Afghan forces. Officials estimated that close to 7,000 Afghan security personnel were killed in 2016.
Today is not about change, but about continuity. The continuity and the continuation of our commitment to Afghanistan. We ask ourselves every day, what more can we do for Afghanistan? And what more can we help them to do for themselves? These simple questions are at the heart of what we do and what drives our mission here.
In the United States, Arkansas has executed Kenneth Williams, the fourth inmate it has put to death in 8 days. Williams was executed by lethal injection on Thursday night local time at the Cummins Unit Prison at Verner. A prison spokesman said that 3 minutes after the injection began, Williams shook for about 10 seconds before being pronounced dead at 11:05. A reporter who witnessed the execution said Williams had been lurching, convulsing, coughing and jerking. The 38-year-old was executed for the death of former Deputy Warden Cecil Boren, 57. Williams had murdered Mr. Boren after escaping from prison in 1999. He had stolen Mr. Boren's truck, and during a chase in southern Missouri the next day, he had crashed into another vehicle, killing the driver, 24-year-old Michael Greenwood. At the time of his escape from jail, he had been less than 3 weeks into a life sentence for the death of a college cheerleader, Dominique Hurd. After jurors had spared his life in Miss Hurd's case, he turned to the girl's family and taunted them, saying, "You thought I was going to die, didn't you?" In his final statement read from the death chamber, Williams extended the sincerest of apologies to the families he had senselessly wronged and deprived of their loved ones. A spokesman for the Attorney General said Mr. Boren's family had thanked authorities for the flawless care of the matter. But Mr. Greenwood's family have said they have forgiven Williams and even arranged for the killer's daughter to visit him before his planned execution. Mr. Greenwood's daughter, Kayla, had urged Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson to spare Williams in a letter sent on Thursday. Williams' lawyer said he had sickle cell traits, lupus, and brain damage, arguing that the lethal injection drugs could subject him to an exceptionally painful execution, which is in violation of the United States Constitution. Arkansas had planned 8 executions over an 11-day period before one of its lethal injection drugs expires on Sunday, but courts issued stays for 4 of the inmates. The executions this month were the first in the state for 12 years. A woman has been shot by police and 4 people were arrested during an anti-terror operation in northwest London and Kent. Armed officers entered a property shortly before 7 p.m. on Thursday evening. During the raid, the woman, who was among a number of people under investigation, was shot. No other people were injured. In unverified footage from the scene, specialist firearms officers could be seen outside a house and several gunshots were heard. The woman, in her 20s, was taken to hospital where she is under police guard. Police said she has not been arrested at this time due to her condition, which has not been revealed. As part of the operation, 4 people have been arrested on suspicion of terror offenses. A 16-year-old youth and a woman, 20, were detained at the property, while a 20-year-old man was arrested nearby. A 43-year-old woman was held in Kent a short while later. They are in custody at a South London police station. Police said the property and people connected to it had been under observation by counter-terrorism officers as part of an ongoing intelligence-led operation. Detectives are carrying out searches there as well as other addresses across the capital. The raid was not connected to the arrest earlier in the day in Whitehall of a man who police say was carrying a rucksack containing several knives. A Burkina Faso court has postponed the start of the trial of ex-President Blaise Compaoré and his former cabinet. The accused are being tried for their alleged role in the violent crackdown on the 2014 uprising that ultimately ended Compaoré's nearly 3 decades in power. The much-anticipated trial of former President Blaise Compaoré and almost his entire former cabinet was supposed to start on Thursday. Instead, it was adjourned before it even began. According to sources within the Ministry of Justice, there was a scheduling conflict. The Lawyers Association of Burkina Faso is holding its annual reunion, so the lawyers were at the official banquet and not at the trial. A few did show up, but only to request the hearing be adjourned. This was granted by the court's president, Mathieu Ouedraogo. The former governor is on trial for allegedly authorizing the use of force against protesters in late October 2014. The popular uprising cost Compaoré his presidency. According to the official toll, 24 people lost their lives during those 2 days, but the case before the court concerns the death of 7 demonstrators shot dead allegedly by security forces. In all, 31 members of the former government are on trial. Compaoré is being tried in his capacity as Minister for Defense, a post he also held at the time of his ouster. Much of Burkina Faso's civil society, which drove the uprising, has documented abuses that went on at the time and is turning its back on the proceedings. A prominent civil society figure present at the court on Thursday made an impromptu statement immediately after the adjournment. Proponents of the trial say it sends a clear signal that nobody can escape justice, but critics have dismissed it as a political score settling. NGOs have pointed accusing fingers at the military, especially the now disbanded Special Presidential Guard. They are allegedly responsible for the deaths and injuries that occurred in October 2014. Compaoré remains in Ivory Coast, where he fled after his ouster and has since taken up citizenship. The trial is now expected to begin on May the 4th. In Nigeria, governors elected on the platform of the All Progressive Congress (APC) have said it was not compulsory for President Muhammadu Buhari to preside over the Federal Executive Council meetings. Governor Nasir El-Rufai of Kaduna State made this known in Abuja while addressing journalists on the outcome of the governor's meeting with members of the APC National Working Committee (NWC). He also said the constitution made provision for Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo to preside over such meetings in the president's absence. El-Rufai, who was reacting to speculations that President Muhammadu Buhari could not attend the FEC meeting for the third consecutive time because he was ill, said the governors were not bothered by such speculations. He said it was normal for the president to have medical challenges, considering the fact that he was over 70 years old. He, however, debunked insinuations that the APC had internal crisis, stressing that the party was intact with a unified leadership structure, adding that contrary to speculations, its NWC was intact. El-Rufai explained that the reason the party was presently constrained financially was because it did not rely on public funds to operate like some parties in government. According to him, the party is funded by private and corporate donors who had its sponsors before it came to power. He further said the party's leadership was willing to return to such donors to raise funds to ensure that it was operated as expected. The governor said that the meeting discussed best incentives to reward loyal party members in line with its constitution. El-Rufai also said that the governors at the meeting pledged their loyalty to the party's leadership and promised to meet with its NWC members monthly. The move, El-Rufai said, became necessary to discuss ways of strengthening the APC and move it forward. He said a date would be picked for the party's National Executive Council meeting at the governor's next meeting with the NWC members. The governor also said that the governors had committed to assist the federal government in delivering the true dividends of democracy to the people. Earlier, Chief John Ogige Oyegun, APC National Chairman, commended the governors for attending the meeting in spite of the short notice. 20 APC governed states were represented at the meeting, the second in the year. And finally, Nigerian Senate leader Ahmed Lawan on Thursday said the Senate would conclude legislative work on the 2017 appropriation bill next week and pass it to President Muhammadu Buhari for assent. At the end of a meeting with President Buhari, the Senate leader said the National Assembly had intended to pass the bill in March but could not do so. The Senate leader also confirmed that the Senate would screen the two ministerial nominees from Kogi and Adamawa states, as well as others who require confirmation by next week. On his visit to the president, he said it was to get the right executive briefings as part of his responsibility to market all executive bills requests. He said such interaction should be maintained in the country in spite of the independence of the three armament. And that has been Heritage World News, Friday, 28th April 2017. I am Balawala.
For over a decade, Alaleke has established an excellent reputation in Afro-Caribbean event catering and hospitality service delivery in the UK. This is why we are asking you to consider us to provide you and your guests an amazing experience at your forthcoming event anywhere in the United Kingdom. You will be glad you did. Cuisine Alaleke Event Catering Services. If you love good food, you love us.